This is a Pele Media podcast.
Welcome back to Goonies Minute, everybody. Goonies Minute is the fan podcast where we carefully explore the movie Goonies minute by minute. I'm Brady,
and this is Chris.
And today we're here to explore Goonies Minute number 34. Chris, how you doing?
Oh, doing well. Just listening to some opera music on the way over here.
I think we're going to
getting into the minute of this.
That's right. We're going to get a little special treat on today's episode.
Oh,
I think, right?
I bet.
Yeah. Well, with that said, let's get into the minute.
Let's get into the minute.
In the previous minute, Mikey faked out Ma Fratelli by acting like he needed to go to the bathroom. He found himself in a staircase that led down into a dark, cave-like hallway. Even after hearing a loud roar, he continued down the hall. At 34 minutes, Mikey continues down the hall as we begin to hear a man singing Italian opera. Mikey spots an open door and peers in. We see Jake singing opera to what can only be described as a deformed man chained to a chair. The man screams and covers his ears. Jake begins to scream at the man for ruining his singing. He takes the tray of food he is holding and throws it at the man. Mikey can't believe what he's seeing. Jake puts the tray on the floor just out of reach of the man. Mikey ducks for cover. Jake comes out of the room and closes the door behind him, and to intentionally antagonize the man, he continues to sing. Just as Jake walks away without having seen Mikey, Mikey sits down in a mousetrap. After getting rid of the mousetrap, Mikey opens the door and peers back in. He sees the man in chains reaching up to the light coming through a small cage window. Mikey takes a broom and begins to shove the tray of food back towards the man. And thus ends minute 34 of the Goonies. So, the filmmakers do a really, really, really cool thing here. And that is throwing us, the audience, and I guess the Goonies, a real curveball with the roar that we hear right as the minute starts out. Mikey he's gone down, he's got the map. He doesn't know quite what that's going to lead to, where he's going to go with this. He doesn't care. He just knows that it's a possible next step in one, getting to the rich stuff, and One-Eyed Willie, and possibly getting them out of danger. But he walks right into more danger because he hears this huge roar. And of course, now that he is so blinded by the goal, he's going to go towards it and explore it.
Yeah.
So the filmmakers have now thrown in something we have absolutely no idea what the hell it could be.
Yeah, I definitely don't think that I would have gone towards that roar.
Hell no.
Doing a little bit of research and actually watching the series Zoo, then watching a Netflix last night, I am nearly 100% sure that they use the sound of a grizzly bear for that roar of sloth.
Doesn't sound like a human.
Almost positive. Well, if a human can make that sound, that would, I'm not going to try to break the speakers, but that would be very impressive if a human could make that sound. The other thing I wanted to say that really, it doesn't necessarily have anything specific to do with the story other than, making me remember things from watching horror movies in my childhood. Whenever you see lights hanging like that by themselves,
yeah, it's
like you're in a horror movie.
Yeah.
You're in a vampire-type movie. It is, like, so creepy. From my childhood, I always remember, if you ever see the lights hanging like that by themselves, not covered.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things.
It means do not go this way. Yeah, for real.
Yeah, so, you hear the roar, and then you start to hear the lovely voice of Jake.
Yeah, and it really is lovely. I mean, Robert Davi, who plays Jake, is a classically trained opera singer. So.
Yeah, it's really amazing. But here's another situation where you see Jekyll and Hyde, Jake.
Correct.
So you might hear Sloth yelling, but you hear the beautiful singing voice of Jake.
Yeah. I think the only thing that could make this scarier is to hear the roar and then to hear opera being sang like right next to it. The fact that you're getting something so scary and then something kind of lighthearted makes it all the more terrifying. And then it even gets worse whenever Mikey finally makes it down there and we see this grown man, a perfectly capable human being, attacking and throwing stuff at something that is human but off and chained to the wall. So what was scary has now become like one of the most scary situations I could possibly fathom.
Another thing that I never caught, whenever I watch this scene, many times, and I didn't catch this until watching it in a minute, is I always thought Sloth was just screaming out of control just because he's hungry, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But there was more to it. Sloth can't stand the sound of Jake singing opera.
Mm-hmm.
He's putting his, trying to cover his ears,
Yeah.
and it's driving him insane. Not that he's not already crazy and a monster to some degree, but it's driving him insane, this music, this singing that he's having to listen to by his brother.
Yeah.
So Jake's continuing to sing. Sloth is really disgusted by it. And Jake really gets mad that Sloth continues to make these noises while he's trying to sing. And he's like, "You're ruining it." And then right at that point, he gets really upset, and he starts slinging the food at Sloth.
Yeah.
And then Sloth gets more riled up, and then Jake basically decides, "I'm not going to give you this food. You blew it."
Yeah.
And then that's when Sloth goes, "Food, please."
Yeah.
Which is one of those, man, Sloth's voice. That guy was so scary.
Yeah, he really is.
Man.
And we're going to get into that actor and that performance soon. But the only thing that keeps us connected here is Mikey and Mikey's fear. And Mike is a child. There's only so much he could do. So we're hoping and praying that nothing's going to happen to him. And then, of course, that mousetrap that he sits on is just like we're just hanging on pins and needles.
How frightened must Mikey be just witnessing this? I mean, I would be, first of all, I would be at a combination of disgust and absolute fear for my life.
Yeah.
To see this monster, to see this, a physically looking monster, and then see a monster of a person, which is what Jake is. So you have two different things right here. And, I mean, my goodness, that's got to be frightening.
Yeah.
I think about the smells of that dungeon area. Man, it had to be just vile and disgusting.
And also, what does he have, if he wanted to just pick up and run, what is he going to be running back to, Ma Fratelli?
Well, and I'm sure Jake would notice him running.
What would scare you more, running from Sloth Unchained or running from Jake? I think, hands down, I'd be more terrified of Jake Fratelli than Sloth.
I don't know. I know now looking at everything, but I don't know what I would be more afraid of if I was in Mikey's shoes with the knowledge I had up to that point.
Yeah, that's true.
It's easy to say, because we don't know, but it's equally frightening at this point. Hey, any idea what's on that tray that they're feeding him?
Okay, so we talked about in a previous minute the fact that Jake, you don't see the other agent. We're going to see the other FBI agent later when he's in the fridge, which is ironic because that's where they store food. But we never see the other guy. Jake comes out in a butcher's apron and talking about how he can't use presumably the kitchen, like the oven or whatever. And he's talking about how he can't create with it. So I've got this idea that you actually proposed that is the other agent. We're seeing him feeding to Sloth.
I'm almost positive.
And
that's the creation.
Yes, the other agent mixed in with like hors d'oeuvres or something. So that is absolutely disgusting and terrifying.
It's his creation. Maybe he was able to go back down and create. What a guy!
Right, and because Jake is totally the Renaissance man that he thinks he is, it makes perfect sense that he would be mixing cannibalism with regular food preparation.
Yeah, absolutely, and it just as amazes me, his performance, the whole movie, but even right here, again, this Jekyll and Hyde is so fascinating. So he gets so disgusted with his brother, he puts that tray away from him so where he can't reach it, and that's when Sloth goes crazy because he wants to eat.
So he's going from torture with the singing to torture and punishment.
And then he walks out, and I think it's interesting they show a really good close-up of his boots because that's almost like that's Mikey's view because they kind of go down to his view of his boots. But then he gets calm again and he starts singing Una furtiva lagrina or something like that.
Look at that.
But he starts singing and he does also makes a comment. What was it? He said Ma and
it's just like Ma, you and Francis never let me finish.
Yeah, Ma, you and Francis. Even though I wrote it down, I can't find my notes. Ma, you and Francis never let me finish.
And then, of course, Mikey has sat on a rat trap, which is can't help.
I mean, how in the world could he be focused and poised enough not to make any noise in that situation?
Oh, my
That
God.
is unbelievable.
Have you ever been pinched by a
Yes.
mousetrap? You have?
Yes.
Hey.
I have been pinched by a rat trap before, and it is quite painful.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, I believe if I put my finger in a rat trap and I really focused, no matter how bad it hurt, and I knew I was about to be hit with it, I might not be able to make a noise. But if I didn't know,
Yeah.
how in the world? I mean,
Yeah.
I know that's the power of the silver screen,
Uh-huh.
but
Yeah.
serious, that's impressive.
Yeah.
That's the poise of this kid. Because he
That's
knows he
true.
can't make any noise right now.
One last thing is, I think it's funny that the filmmakers are now making this. The only thing scarier than could be a movie where they are faced with adults, because all kids are scared of adults, and now they're being faced with a monster. So they're making this partly a monster movie. And what an interesting way to go with this movie, and I can't wait to figure out where they're going to go with it. It's very interesting.
It's going to be neat to find out next minute.
That's true. All right, well, with that said, everybody, please go have a great weekend, and we will resume here on Monday. And until then, this is Brady.
And this is Chris.
We're here to remind you that Goonies
Never say die.
Goonies Minute is a fan-supported podcast. If you like the show, then leave us a review on iTunes. You can find us at GooniesMinute.com, Facebook.com/GooniesMinute, Twitter.com/GooniesMinute, and at Instagram @GooniesMinute. You can contact us at GooniesMinute@gmail.com. You've been listening to a Pele Media podcast. For premium content and exclusive podcasts, visit us at patreon.com/PeleMedia. Check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/PeleMedia and follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/PeleMedia.